Hey guys, I'm Al.
I'm Woody.
And this is the Skid Factory. This is my buddy Mark's 1970 ZC Fairlane. So it's a Falcon derivative in Australia. It's a longer wheelbase. It was sort of the luxury version of them. Probably be considered a compact in America because all their cars are about a metre wider than ours. It's a fairly original unit. It's been resprayed, of course, but everything else is pretty original. It's all original in the engine bay. The engine's been replaced with just another unit, the other engine's at home. It's had a few things done to it just to keep it on the road. New brakes, new master cylinder, new booster, new steering, because all that was very original parts. He drove it around like that for a little while. Only problem is it just continually stops for no reason. Well, for a reason, but no one's ever bothered to find out what it is. And so he's had a few tow trucks and he's kind of a bit over that. He also is a disability support worker, so he drives around a few blokes in this thing just to give them a bit of a day out. Disabled guys, some of them are young blokes just like you and I, some older, but they really love the Fairlane because it's a pretty cool car. So it breaking down is not cool, so he sort of talked to me about that, and let's be honest, Mark's a horsepower junkie. He's owned a lot of fast cars over the years. He always says, I'm done with it, sells them, buys something cool, then goes, I need it to be fast again. This is a pretty consistent cycle for him. Luckily, he's mates with me, so we can sort it out. So we talked about what to do. He likes modern engines. Well, modern in comparison to this. So we're gonna put a 1UZ in it, and we're going to turbo it because he likes fast cars and that's the easiest way to make them fast. So this original 302 Windsor, it's coming out, so is the C4, so is the diff, and we're going to replace with 1UZ, T66 turbo, Haltech Elite 550 to run it, original 1UZ gearbox which we got out of Wood Regos's Cressida, just a manual shift controller. We're going to use the column shift because he wants to keep the interior looking cool and original. We're going to put a Falcon, late model Falcon diff in it with disc brakes and a handbrake that works, and an LSD, a 3:45 ratio out of an EL XR6, which is an Australian delivered Falcon. And we're going to tie it all together, tidy it up, make it go fast. So let's do it.
So that's the backstory done. First thing we're going to do is remove all the original Windsor driveline.
Here we go now.
Now to do this, we're going to have to remove the exhaust and the tail shaft. Then we take the gearbox out the bottom and the engine comes out the top.
So here's a little 302 out of the car. It's a very compact engine. They were really good size per capacity. So it fits in pretty easily in most engine bays. They use them in a lot of smaller cars, just like as a retrofit because of that. It's very narrow. This is the 1UZ. This was previously in Woody's car before he changed to a VVTi. It's still in usable order. We just got to put some new head gaskets in it. We've stolen a bit of stuff off it over the years, but yeah, we'll dig around and find all those bits again out of our pile of ONUZ stuff. So you can see there's a fair bit of size difference in them. The twin cam heads obviously expands out into the engine bay a fair bit, but it should go into the Falcon bay no problem at all. This is Woody's VVTi engine, which you've also got out of his car because we're putting it in a different car soon. All this manifolding and everything is going to go back onto the original engine, and we're going to use this turbo location because this car's got no air conditioning or power steering or anything, so it's a practical way of mounting it because it's in the location where the compressor used to be. Different turbo, of course, but similar in size, a little bit smaller than this one, and it's all going to go on the bay. Here's a good comparison shot of the two different transmissions. This is the C4, the behind the 302. It's obviously a pretty old box. I think they came in about 1966 or something like that. Good box. Some people do build them and use them in drag racing applications, or C6s most likely, but it's only a 3-speed, so it's not the nicest on the highway. This is the Toyota box. It's a Aisin A340, most people call them. There's a few variants of them. This one here has been manualised. It's got a different valve body in it, so we can just run the 2 solenoids and plus the lock-up solenoid. It's just operated by a small control box. Whatever shifter position you're in, that's what gear it's in. Then it's got a button for you to use overdrive, and you can lock the torque converter as well if you wish to, which we normally do when we're dynoing, because you do lose a lot through a high torque converter. Not much difference in size. The Aisin box is a little bit bigger, but it should fit in the tunnel no problems at all.
We're swapping turbo manifolds from one engine to the other before we trial fit the engine into the car. Even though the cylinder heads have been redesigned on the later model engine, the exhaust manifold bolt pattern is exactly the same, so our manifold bolts straight up.
So here's the old Falcon engine bay. I'm calling it a Falcon because that's what it is, so don't get cranky. It's a Fairlane, but it's the same thing. So it's got a lot of old mechanical linkage stuff going on here. Throttle. This pulls the load mechanism on the automatic, or kick down if you like to call it that. So I'm going to get rid of all that because it's taken up room that we can use to put turbos and stuff in. And we'll probably remove these saddle mounts there. That's how they change between 6 and 8 cylinder engines. They just vary a little bit. They bolt on. And we'll get the engine in there and have a think about how we're going to mount it, because there's a few ways of doing it. But until we get it in there, we sort of make up our mind once it's sitting in the right place. Should be no problems fitting the engine in there sump wise. It's got a front sump. That's the same layout as the 302's got. So it'll slot into this little space here between the sway bar and the cross member. The only problem we might have is just manifold clearance against the strut towers. It's not as big an engine bay as it looks, so we'll have to wait and see. And when we get it in there, we may need to remake one manifold on one side just to pull it in a bit, because at the moment it pokes out a fair way to clear the power steering pump, which is not required in this application. So we'll get it in there and see what it looks like. We're going to do a quick test fit, just drop the engine in the bay by itself. We're just going to throw the bell housing on just to give it a bit of a sort of a taper into the tunnel there. It's a lot easier to throw the engine in without the gearbox on it, but when we put the gearbox on, we've got to go right up, and it's a bit more of an effort. So we're just going to do it this way initially, just to go, yeah, okay, the manifolds fit or don't fit. Yeah, it's going to sit there, whatever. Give us a little bit of an indication of what we're dealing with. The bell housing is just to make sure that we've got the engine low enough for the box to go underneath the tunnel. So once we get that, we'll just pull it back out again, remove whatever's got to remove, start cutting things off, whatever. And then we'll put the box on and go in for real.
We can hide our faces from
get very far. The headers are way too wide, so we'll rip off this one and see if we can, as long as that one's not too wide, then we'll be right. We'll still be able to lower it down in the bay and then just remake this side. Pretty much a double fail, doesn't fit at all, so we'll have to pull this one off. Haven't lost anything, I was only just going to recycle stuff if it fitted, so pull that off, get the engine in. If it doesn't fit in between the towers, then we're really in trouble, but I think it'll be okay. It fits between the towers. I think I'm going to have to plan B it and try and get it right back against the firewall. And we might try and put the turbo in front of the engine, like I did with the other Falcon with the VH41 V8. It had the same problem. It was so close to the towers that there was not really much choice where to put it. But there's plenty of engine bay length in a Falcon because they have 6-cylinder engines in them, so might try and utilise that room and go back, turbo at the front, exhaust exit underneath.
What are you checking down there, bro?
I'm just having a look to see what I need to cut off to get the engine to go back further. It's just a couple of parts of the cross member that we can just knock off and refit. So I'm pretty confident the engine's going to go in there okay, but we're going to have to make all new manifolds. So I was hoping to get a bit done this weekend. So in times like these, who do I call? Matt. He's my hookup for on-the-spot flanges and that sort of thing. So I'm just going to give him a call and see if he can hook me up for the weekend. And it is Friday afternoon right now, in case you were wondering.
Hey, bro, how you going?
Good, mate. I've got a bit of a failure here. I'm trying to fit that 1UZ into Mark's Fairlane, and Woody's manifolds are not going to fit. I'm going to have to make new ones. Any chance I could could I get a hook up on some 1UZ manifold flanges?
Oh, I think I could sort something out for you.
Savo?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. Should squeeze out something savvy for you.
Sweet. Lifesaver.
On the way through.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
All right,
I'll see.
30 in the world, eh?
Yeah, that's it. Cheers, mate. I'll see you this afternoon.
All right. Yeah, no worries. See you.
Yeah, it's good to have friends.
Next time, we're going to position the engine, measure up and then fabricate some new engine mounts to get the 1UZ mounted in the Fairlane.